report presentation for the Year 8 Industry and Imperialism unit. In this overview task, children will be asked to undertake a more extended version of the basic homework that most students in the year group will take. This film is to help you complete this particular activity. In this unit, we'll be studying the history of the United Kingdom through some of its most important changes in the 18th and 19th centuries. During this period, the Industrial Revolution turned Britain into the most powerful and wealthy nation on earth. First task then for the students is to take a look at a street scene from the 19th century. This picture source here is called the Court of King Cholera. It's a famous depiction of a street scene in London. In this space provided here, I would like students to tell me what they can learn about life in British cities during the Industrial Revolution by studying the picture. The key thing here is that students use a variety of both comprehension, that is facts that they can see, as well as inference. I would like them to make some assumptions about life in these cities based upon this picture as well. As advised down here, please encourage students to carry out a Google search to see this image more clearly. If you do a Google search for the Court of King Cholera. We then move on to look at social problems caused by the Industrial Revolution. This is straightforward gap fill as students work their way through these 4 pieces of text. The gaps are filled using the keywords down here at the bottom. Upon completion, I'd like students to contemplate whether they know anything of their family prior to the 20th century. Maybe where the family are from, occupations that the family have been involved in, maybe the number of children that each generation had. That information could be provided in the space here. As per usual with these extended tasks, I require students to provide me the sources of information that they've used. Ideally books and titles, internet sites, specific internet sites, people that they've spoken to. Once the social problems are dealt with, we then move on to the political problems. The Industrial Revolution saw the change of Britain from a rather old-fashioned way of ruling. We already studied in Year 8 that the king is now sharing their power with the Parliament, but the Parliament were dominated by the wealthy. During the 19th century and the Industrial Revolution, that power was shared with more middle class and then working class people. Some of the key groups involved in changing that process were the 3 listed here: the suffragettes, the chartists and the trade unions. I'd like students to consider some information about each of these groups. Okay. I would like to find out who the groups were. I'd like to find out what kind of changes that they wanted to bring about. And the students might then want to analyze the amount of success that each of these groups actually achieved. Moving on, and then students to inquire as to how we vote for our leaders today. Underneath, again, the sources of information students have used. So having looked at political and social problems, we now look at economic problems. The Industrial Revolution brought Britain fantastic wealth, and with that wealth came power, and with that power Britain built the world's biggest empire. But the economic changes changed Britain beyond recognition, and we became the world's first industrialized nation. I'd like a brief sentence on how each of these different aspects of Britain was changed during the period 1750 to 1900. And this work here supports the group work activity that students will undertake at the start of this unit. We then move on to the first real economic boom of the Industrial Revolution and Imperial Age. That was the business of slavery. I'd like students to complete the questions and then identify, please, 2 countries that Britain took over in their conquest to build an empire. They could colour in the flags of both these countries here, provide the names, and then provide any additional information on those countries that may be of interest. And as this unit also sees through to the end of the British Empire, I'd like students to study the organisation that has replaced the British Empire. I want to know the name and the connection of this organisation to the British Empire. And finally, again, students are required to provide all of their information.